Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive is regarded as one of the greatest and most amazing fantasy books to ever come out in the last decade. But there hasn't been an official adaptation of them yet, until Apple secured the rights this year and will be adapting it into a television series. But why was Hollywood so afraid to touch these books for so long? Well, I think there are 3 main reasons why, and to prove that this masterpiece belongs in animation rather than live action, I gave myself just 7 days to animate some of my favorite scenes from the books. But before I could even draw a single frame, there was something important I needed to decide. On day 1, I had to decide what I wanted my animation to be. So this day was all about making a storyboard. And this is where I realized the first massive reason these books haven't been adapted for so long. Absolute creative control. Hollywood's instinct is always to cut, condense, and rewrite. For years, studios pitched adaptations that changed everything. But Brandon walked away because he didn't really need their money.
I'm definitely a best-selling science fiction fantasy writer who has never had an adaptation. And here I'm sitting in a world where everyone wants fantasy, and I have my rights, and I can say yes or no.
He finally signed with Apple because they gave him unprecedented control over the script. And honestly, mapping out just 1 minute of this world made me realize why he was so protective. Trying to condense a whole book's worth of character arcs into a few storyboard panels without losing the soul of the book felt impossible. I'm the director, the animator, and the producer, and the amount of pressure of doing his vision justice on day 1 was already making me really nervous. I decided I will be animating key moments from the first 2 books. So if you haven't read them yet, don't worry. Without context, there are no plot ruining twists here, just pure animations that will show you exactly why this series is a masterpiece. I'll be focusing on Shallan, Kaladin, Dalinar, and Seth? Oh, that's how you say it. And after some very rough boards, we were done for today. But looking at what I had to do for day 2, I was not prepared for how much work I had to do in less than 24 hours. On day 2, the most important thing I needed to decide on was how I was going to draw the characters. I wanted to test different styles for the characters, so I used Shallan as my main test guide. I compare a more comic book style to more anime. A lot of the sort of official animations I've seen on Instagram are usually in this style. But choosing the right style for animation would determine how fast I could draw, so I decided to go with this anime style so my cleanup would be a lot faster because anime has clean and sharp lines allowing me to use vector anti-aliasing lines. This was the only way I was going to survive the remaining 5 days and actually finish all the scenes I want. While I was researching the cast, specifically looking at people's fan art, I came across this official miniatures PDF they released, which apparently are used as reference for all artists who work on any official illustrations. But looking at these official designs, I noticed something that kind of bothered me. In the concept art for characters like Jasnah, she has these beautiful textured dense curls, but for some reason the official miniatures turned it wavy. Why? She looks so cute with curly hair. In animation, straight hair is a massive time saver, while curly and coily hair requires an insane amount of lines to track and just animate frame by frame. Because of that, curly hair in media is usually oversimplified, used to show a character as messy or rebellious, when in reality, I think it perfectly fits a composed and elegant heroine like Jasnah. So I refused to compromise on her design, but I only had 7 days. So I decided to keep Jasnah's curls, but I specifically animated her shop with her lying down. That way her hair stays stunning on screen, but I didn't ruin my timeline by trying to animate curls frame by frame. Unfortunately, I spent so much time cleaning up Shallan's and Kaladin's character sheets on this day, I ran out of time to do other characters. So I did a couple of more sketches for Dalinar and Kaladin. But well, it's one thing to draw a still character sheet, but it's a whole different thing to animate it. I had to struggle with my own hand to animate one of the most difficult things I have ever animated. On day 3, I began working on the main character shots in their earlier scenes that happened in book 1. I started with Kaladin at his lowest point, animating him to look droopy and slow to give that sense of how hopeless he felt at that time. And well, can you tell that I like animating hair? For Shallan, eating jam and reading. I wanted it to feel peaceful, almost like the world's version of a lo-fi girl. To capture that cozy atmosphere, I focused entirely on animating her taking a bite of the jam. And Dalinar's main highlight is when we're introduced to the Chasmfiend and his Shardplate. Originally, this shot had Elhokar in it, but I had to cut him to save some more time. So all of the focus went on Dalinar. And I thought this would be a perfect moment to show how Shardplate looks, since it plays a major part in the books. But you see, Shardplate is very complex. It's massive, it's a huge detail armor. These books have a lot of fight scenes. Now imagine the budget for hand drawing every single line of a character in Shardplate. You can even see how I'm struggling to draw it here. And animate it here. And Chasmfiends are another massive thing that I was struggling to make it move. This leads to the second reason as to why these books are very difficult to adapt. The sheer scale, the massive battles, the giant Chasmfiends, and that insane armor are just going to eat any adaptation's budget, whether it's live action or animated. But with only 7 days on my clock, trying to force a massive action sequence would completely ruin my timeline. Instead, I chose to focus on what makes this story truly great, the high emotion character moments. Like the exact second when Shallan gets jumped on the ship, or when Dalinar forces the sky and storms to listen to him. But the ultimate shot I was saving for last is the biggest moment in the entire first half of the series, when Kaladin gets his own hero moment. I wanted to make it feel and look as cool as it felt while I was reading it. And to push the scale even further, I had to include Seth. But stepping back to look at all these things together, that's when the true reality of the project hit me, and I finally understood the real reason these books are considered unfilmable. Forget the massive fight scenes, the fact that people can fly, or the fact that the entire ecosystem is literally something we just cannot film in the real world. The absolute biggest nightmare for any studio trying to adapt the Stormlight Archive is Spren. Let me explain. In this world, Spren are everywhere. They're physical manifestations of emotions and nature that float around constantly. And I mean constantly. They are mentioned so many times in the books. Now imagine a studio trying to render hundreds if not thousands of these in a live action crowd scene without it looking cluttered or cheap. If I learned anything, is that animation is time consuming. But I personally think the series would fit the arcane style so well, and I'm not the only one who has thought of this. It would make video effects look so cool, and we can get those anime style fight scenes that the Stormlight Archive kinda always felt like. And of course, it would make animating Spren so much easier. Fortunately for me, the only Spren I would be animating was Syl, Kaladin's companion. I wanted to make her so flowy and free because she is similar to a wind Spren, and I really like how I animated her so smoothly here. In 4 days, I had only sketched out the rough key poses, but a rough sketch doesn't look like a finished anime piece. What we need is in-betweens. And because I'm running out of time, I decided to in-between in my cleanup phase. I had no idea how hard this phase would be. I was already tired and I hadn't even touched a coloring bucket yet. But as I began cleaning up, I realized I made a massive mistake in my second shot. I accidentally messed up Shallan's right hand with her left hand. You see, women in this universe cover up their left hands. This is what they're called a Safehand. And I rechecked my shots and I realized I also messed up Jasnah's too. Even though I had made reference so I didn't make this exact mistake, and yet I still made it. So quick fix, I decided to flip Shallan's shot. That was easy, but for Jasnah, I just had to redraw the hand. But at least it was only those 2 shots. With only 3 days left, I had to speed up my process. To speedrun the line work, I switched to using my mouse and the Bezier curve tool instead of drawing them by hand with the stylus. To color the frames faster, I swapped out the slow bucket for a selection coloring tool, and after painstakingly coloring Kaladin's hair for the millennium time, I took a break and decided to work on the backgrounds instead. The first 2 books take a lot of time in the shattered plains, so a lot of my backgrounds look like this. Everything has to look rocky, rugged, and built to survive a natural disaster. It took me hours just to make the environment look as accurate as possible. I really did struggle with this, but to add some more variety, I added shots during the rain, night, and interior places. I love these dark tones in these backgrounds. They look so good! Mwah. So on day 6, I finished all of the backgrounds. But oh my god, I only have 24 hours left. What? I spent so much time working on these backgrounds. I only have 3 more shots and I'm so close to finishing, but something unexpected happened. I graduated. I was forced to get separated from this project for 3 days because of my graduation. But this really made me think of something I got wrong from this project. Sitting here, completely exhausted from trying to animate just a single minute of this personal project of mine, it made me realize something. I started this video wanting to prove that animation is the absolute superior medium for this story. But whether it's a 2D animator hand-drawing hair, or a 3D artist rendering thousands of Spren, or a live-action crew sweating inside a heavy Shardplate costume, everyone in the industry is grinding out of pure passion for the stories we love. Fighting over live action versus animation really misses the point of the real miracle we got. That this world, this beautiful and insane world, is even getting adapted at all. But anyways, after some graduation parties, it was time to get back to work and put everything together. With only 24 hours left of my original timeline, I exported all of my shots and combined them with the backgrounds. But as I started to composite, I realized I exported my first shot wrong. I had to separate Kaladin from Syl so that I could have her go in front of the background. So after re-exporting, I gave each shot some lighting and effects. See, raw 2D lines can look a bit flat, and to really give it that cinematic feel we're going for, I needed to do a heavy video effects pass. I went back in and added some glowing to that on our Shardplate to make it look like it was radiating pure storm-like energy. And for Kaladin shots, I color corrected him to fit with the blues and darker tone of the shot, and added some glow effects for Syl. In this shot, I decided to add a blur effect so it feels like a camera is focusing in on Jasnah and highlighting the blade so it doesn't get lost in the shot. I also added some nice camera movements. I especially like how anxiety-inducing this shot of Seth is. It's crazy how much a few layers of lighting and camera movement can transform a basic drawing and make it feel like you're actually peeking into a different world. So I exported the animations with video effects and backgrounds combined and brought everything into my editing timeline. I added the music, but looking at the animation, I felt like something was still missing.
I think you're missing sound.
Oh, right. Animation is 50% visuals, but what most people don't know is that sounds can really carry and sell the movement. So after searching for some sounds, I had to make sure they weren't too loud. I added them in, and after all that work, I hit render. And after days of slaving myself to my desk, I honestly feel really proud of what I made. Now, it's not absolutely perfect. If you look closely, you might catch a couple of mistakes, like Kaladin accidentally wearing the wrong clothes, but after hitting my deadline, I have to let this animation go. Anyways, now it is time to show you my 2D animated version of the Stormlight Archive.